You can make a life-altering connection in under 7 minutes. That's right. One that changes the direction of your life in ways that you had no idea were possible. 7 minutes. That's all it takes. Now, being open to this possibility is what defines the greatest innovators, the greatest change makers. Because to them, the key, what they know, what they take energy and power and joy from, is that they are not alone in fighting their good fight. This is important because great learning, the type that drives innovation, is a collaborative process. And I want this to sink in for you guys because this is a passion of mine. This is something that drives my life. So why is this important? I want to talk to you a little bit about this from the perspective that humans, you and me, humans, are wired to connect. And what that means for us as humans is that our purpose in life, that's right, our purpose in life, in a very pragmatic way, is to connect with other humans. That's it. That's why we're here. That might be a little controversial for you. I don't want to go down an existential rabbit hole with you, but from a biological perspective, from a social perspective, this is what drives us. Now, what happens if we are disconnected? Why is this so important? You're probably seeing me grinning right now because it's kind of begging the question with what's going on in 2020. We've been disconnected. Unlike any of us have experienced in our lifetime, or many of us have experienced in our lifetime. That means that for the first time in our lives, we are disconnected from other humans to a scale and scope that we could not fathom before. So, what's been going on? I want you to reflect on it right now. Maybe your mental health is all right, but you know lots of friends who've been mentally, emotionally affected by this disconnection. I have. I know I have. I love high-fiving people, going out, engaging with people, playing sports with people, innovating in a room together with people, touching base on a whiteboard, hugging people. We've been disconnected in a way that we have not, as a global society, experienced in 100 years. It's mind-blowing. Now, the chronic stress that is affecting us, affecting you, affecting me, I can own the pronoun, it's affecting me, actually has a physical implication for what's going on with us right now. That means our cortisol is elevated. That means it affects our digestion. It affects our nutrition from that perspective. It affects our internal organs, our kidneys, liver, our heart. Everything is affected by this elevated stress from being disconnected. Your emotional state, very important, we touched on that. Your physical state, physically affected by being disconnected. Now, what's so important about this is that as humans, what we don't really recall, say before COVID, is that we are consistently seeking out emotionally or physically powerful experiences. This is how we're wired. This is what's the basis for experiential learning. Rewiring your brain via neuroplasticity through new experiences, reflecting on those new experiences, and then sharing those new experiences with other people. This is what I was talking about at the beginning, where you can, by virtue of being open to this, change the direction of your life by connecting with someone deeply in 7 minutes. It's bonkers. It's our biology. It's our physiology. It's our psychology. Now, This has been part of my life for a really long time. And you're probably seeing me grinning and joking a little bit and making these big statements about this. But I actually had to learn this and practice it consistently. Because like many of you, I started life in an environment where I didn't feel safe, which means that I kept people at bay. So I immigrated to the United States from a country that was in civil war, and I felt out of place growing up as a kid. And luckily, my mother, who raised me, was consistent in her message, that it didn't matter that I felt out of place in the culture where I was growing up. What was important was that I sought out experiences with connection in mind. And that's what I've been doing and practicing for decades now. It's key to what we do here at Chōsen, and it's something that by cultivating connection via these physical and emotionally powerful experiences, you can decide to be open to someone. And you can decide to use that connection, that energy that you share with someone when you're both open, no ego, no judgment, to learn something that could potentially change the direction of your life. Now, from that personal story, I'm sure we're going to go deeper into that in the future. I love talking about being an immigrant, growing up as an immigrant, being a third culture kid, how that has affected the way that I do business, the way that I engage with others, the way that I innovate, the way that I lead, the way that I engage with my family even. Now, we'll keep that story for another time, and we'll touch base on that in the future. But right now, I want to have a key takeaway for you guys. How do we actually open ourselves up and open others up to this concept of connection? And it's based on what we were talking about at the beginning of this video, that we're actually wired to connect. And that connection wiring happens when we feel listened to. Or the opposite, where we're like, I'm not feeling so safe, if we have someone who's actually just waiting for their turn to speak. So there's two different ways for us to listen to each other that would actually evoke this feeling of connection. One is called listening for understanding. And when you listen to each other for understanding, it is the closest thing to feeling loved that you can actually do, other than saying, I love you. So what happens from a physiological perspective is that oxytocin, dopamine are released. They are your love hormones. There are things, your neurotransmitters, that are sitting there that are saying to you, to your brain, that you are safe. You're being understood. So this concept of listening for understanding, when you do that to someone else, they feel loved. When they do that to you, you feel loved. And then in the process, deeper connection can occur. Now, the opposite of that, listening for response. This one is one of my favorite things to talk about because we all have that friend who is just waiting for their turn to speak. They might not even let you finish your sentence. I know. Yeah, you're probably smiling right now. You're like, yeah, my friend Susie. Yeah, she's forever interrupting me, telling me her own story. Goodness gracious. My friend Karen, same thing. Here you go. My friend Steve, who knows? Why do these people do that? Well, let's not talk about the why, but basically you have someone who interrupts you, who then contradicts you possibly, or worse yet, gives you unsolicited advice. How does that feel? You feel stressed. You have a fight or flight response. Your body has elevated cortisol levels. You don't feel loved. There's no oxytocin. There's no dopamine. You feel like you're under attack. So this is important. So how do we listen for understanding so that we can cultivate connection and make the choice to have an emotionally powerful experience that could potentially change the direction of our lives? So here you go. Here are the ways you do that. First and foremost, you have to have a practiced positive mindset going into the conversation. I say practice positive mindset because there's a lot of talk in the zeitgeist about positivity without any sort of substantial scientific backing of it. Basically, because of neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself because you choose to do so, because experiences that you have in your life, you can practice being positive and engaging with your environment in a way that's analyzing what's going on for you in a positive way. So we have our friends who are all whinging, and we've talked about this in a different video. You know, we're in London, the tube's hot, you go outside, it's cold, it's raining, coffee's cold. I'm going to complain about the whole thing when I go to London. Absolutely not, man. I am stoked to be in London. I love London. I love my cold coffee. There's ice in it on purpose. So basically, you can choose to have that practiced positive mindset. Number 2, withhold judgment. It's related to the first one, but that means that when you're listening to someone, you can tell when something's going on behind their eyes and their facial expressions are going, yeah, No, we don't want to do that. We don't want to have something prepared when you're listening to the other person. You actually just want to be engaged. You want to look them in the eye. You want to nod. You're like, this is interesting. This is positive. This person is speaking. I'm here. I'm listening to this. And related to that, you're reflecting on what they're saying. You are not preparing a response. And that means that you can ask clarifying questions. So, practiced positive mindset, withhold judgment, reflect on what they're saying, and ask clarifying questions. So the last 2 means, oh, that's interesting. Tell me more about that. What did you feel when that happened? Oh, tell me more. Not very complicated. It's just direct. And you're there. You're holding space. You're engaging. Finally, there are 2 items, very important. I've already talked about one of them, and that was don't give unsolicited advice. Your friend's sitting over there, or your new friend you just met 5 minutes ago, you got 2 minutes in, you're listening. Don't tell them what to do unless they're asking for it. It's important. You don't like it, I don't like it, no one likes it. So, very, very key to this concept of connection that could potentially change the direction of your life in under 7 minutes. So, the last one, share openly when it's your turn to share. You've cultivated this environment. You've made something happen. There's a connection there. You've learned something. Pay it forward. Give it back. Share when it's your turn to share. Now, this is what our most successful, most innovative rock star alumni do to elevate their game. This is it. That's right. These people are amazing. Not because they're holed up in a closet doing cool stuff on their computers. No. It's because they're willing to listen for connection. And they're willing to put themselves out there to have the same thing happen with them. And like I said before, this is something that I personally have to practice. And I have to practice it because I started out as a kid in an environment where it was safer not to connect, to actually pull away. Or at least I thought that was the case. I've learned otherwise, growing up, going through athletics, going through multiple businesses, connecting with people at Chōsen. It is the core concept behind everything that we do. So you guys are the doers. You're the change makers. You're the people that want to impact the world around you. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is to connect with the people around you. So, John Stanton, co-founder of Chōsen, signing out. And if you like this topic, I want you to check out this next video that my co-founder Robin set up for you guys. It's knowing when to engage and when to relax. And it begins with literally getting kicked in the face. So until next time, talk to you soon. Bye now.